Good morning. So have you seen previous question paper? Which question you have found so far? What has been covered? Have you found any question? We don't see the question papers. Yes. Have you seen any question? And have you found anything that has been so far covered in the class? No. Okay, let's. Now today we are going to start with aptitude and foundational values of civil services. So just write. Okay, before that, just write one more thing. There is a bureaucratic attitude and democratic attitude. Okay, just write the heading. Bureaucratic attitude and democratic attitude. Now write the question. What do you understand by? What do you understand by bureaucratic attitude and democratic attitude? What do you understand by bureaucratic and democratic attitude? What are the merits and demerits of each one of them? What are the merits and demerits of each one of them? Each one of them. Okay. Is it desirable? Is it desirable and possible to have both the attitudes? Is it possible or desirable to have both the attitudes in governance? Okay, so that's the question. So yes, we have already discussed the word bureaucratic attitude. I have referred it many a times. What is your understanding? What is bureaucratic attitude? If you would have seen this question paper, then you would have at least pondered over it. Okay, this was a question which was asked in 2015. Okay. Yes, tell me, what is bureaucratic attitude? What is your understanding? Hmm. Hmm. Red tape, huh? Yes, good. Something which I have referred yesterday to it. Yes. What else says anyone? What is bureaucratic attitude? Yes, you are right. Yes. So then why is something is written that is a merit? Yes, anybody wants to add something new or something different? There is something called as, even there is a hint that what are the merits and demerits of both the things. So if it is saying that merit, it must be with certain reason. Yes. Uh, okay, good. Yes. So the thing is, when we say about the bureaucratic attitude, like a typical bureaucratic attitude, these days it has become a prejudiced word. Okay, it does not mean that bureaucratic attitude to starts with is a wrong thing. Okay, to start with. Okay, there is a reason for which this sort of an attitude that we see. But nowadays it has become a more of a prejudiced term, in a sense that it has become a negative connotation. Okay, but before that one must understand what is a bureaucratic attitude, and then we'll say that why it has earned the negative connotation. So in a simplest form, it is like taking the decision based upon the based upon the procedures and the rules. Okay, bureaucratic attitude is an attitude wherein decisions are taken, decisions are taken based upon decision are taken, meaning, okay, what is the bureaucratic attitude? Decisions are taken based upon rules, based upon rules and laws, constitutional provisions. Now here, democratic attitude, on the other hand, democratic में क्या होगा? Hmm? If not laws and rules, then the decision is taken by consensus. Okay, you can write building the consensus. Democratic attitude is one where the decisions are taken, based on consensus, democratic dialogue, deliberations, etc. Democratic dialogue and deliberations. So here, consensus is the attempt is made in order to generate the consensus. Okay, so these are the democratic dialogue or democratic methods. Now the second thing is like what are the merits? Okay, merit. Now here, when we are defining, we are simply saying that decision making will be based upon the rules and regulations, okay, laws. So what is a merit? Do you see any merit? Yes, it will bring the impartiality. It will bring the impartiality, objectivity, predictability, rule of law, unbiasedness. Okay, that's the same. That is objectivity. Predictability, yes. Anybody has understood what is predictability? And why it is an advantage? What is a predictability? Hmm. Hmm. Yes. Yes, very good. So people will have that they can have a certainty. I go in this, okay, my job will be done in 1 day, 2 day, 10 days, 15 days, whatever the rules and regulation. And there is a predictability, my job will be done without any bribe. There is more certainty to it. Okay, so certainty hogi to people will have the more legitimacy to it. Are you understanding? Okay, so predictability. Otherwise, when rule of law and rules and regulations are not there, it is all vague. It is all confusing. Okay, people do not know, and in fact, it will create a scope for bribe also. Okay, so that is about the predictability, rule of law, etc. Now, here, is there any merit of consensus? What is the if we go the decision with the consensus and democratic method? What are the merits? It's not that difficult, yes, huh? Yes, you were saying something? No? Hmm. Pros and cons will be deliberated, good, huh? Yes? Hmm. Very good. That is one thing. And society is a heterogeneous, okay? So when you are taking the decision, there are different sections in the society. So maybe your decision positively, negatively hampering one group, another group, etc. So building the consensus is actually you are providing the chance to the every section of the society to have their say with respect to the decision that is being taken. So maybe you will take an arbitrary decision and that impose, then later on you may face the problem. Okay, so democratic methods, giving a chance, giving every group a chance to participate in the decision making process. Okay, giving every group or section of the society a chance to participate in decision making process. This is how they can articulate their interest. In fact, good governance emphasis on this particular aspect. There has to be inclusive approach. Okay, inclusive approach in decision making. It gives a chance that different sections and different groups can participate in decision making process. So once they participate, so obviously their concerns will get represented. Okay, their concerns, their demands, their aspirations, different sorts of things get this thing represented. It provides, in fact, it will help in decision implementation also. How? When the decision has been taken, there will be a more acceptability to the decision. Okay, so there will be a hassle-free implementation of decision, or it helps in uh, implementation, smooth implementation of the decisions. Democratic attitude helps also in the smooth implementation of decisions, because people have already been taken into account while making the decision. So there is more acceptability to the decisions that is being taken. There is more legitimacy to the decision because people have been consulted. Okay. Now, demerit. Also, merit may somewhere, if you have not missed that point, heterogeneous में ये भी है कि weaker section, when we are saying that all the section of the society, so weaker section, and something that we have been talking about, that bureaucracy lack the empathy and compassion. Okay, that count will be taken care when you will show the democratic attitude. Okay. Demerit. What is the demerit, if at all any? That is what, in fact, we have started with. And today, we know the bureaucratic attitude more as a demerit. Okay? And why it has become a demerit, that's also we have to see. Yes, see, the demerit is because, see, while writing, you should be very careful enough. When we are saying the bureaucratic attitude, literally it means that you should take the decision on the basis of rules and regulations. But too much rigidity with the rules and regulation, okay, too much rigidity that, say for example, any person from the weaker section, below poverty line, vulnerable section, marginalized section is coming to your government or the state or a bureaucracy, you're simply denying him the services based upon the fact that you do not carry this papers, that papers, there is a complex procedures, etc. Now, even if you don't have papers, we are not saying here that you should not follow the rules and regulations, but at least you need to you need to show an empathy and compassion towards this, because they are illiterate, they do not know. There may be certain problems with respect to availing the documents also, because it's a tribal community. So that sort of attitude has to be there. But bureaucratic attitude, since the people have been told that you should follow rules, so strict following the rules and regulations has become a sort of, in manifestation of it, becomes a sort of a insensitivity towards the problems of society. You are so insensitive, you will simply say that, don't tell me anything, just tell me, do you have this paper or not? If you don't have the paper, okay, next person. Are you understanding? This is a sort of an attitude. Or you keep on delaying, you carry 5 things, but procedure is very complex and I cannot do this and that, I cannot bypass any procedure. So ultimately you are trying to harass, you are trying to delay the procedures, and then again it creates a scope for the corruption also, because too much of lengthy procedure, too much of this thing, insensitivity, it creates. So here, when we say about the demerit, it is about when you follow too much of rigidity with respect to the law and you do not see anything beyond it. Okay, that's why we say that it is a bureaucracy. Ultimately, it is a bureaucracy, and therefore it will take a lot of time, because procedures are too many, rules are too many. Okay, so right here, that is too much of strict following of rules and regulation, too strict with respect to following rules and regulation, too strict with following rules and regulations may lead to rigidity, in the system. Okay, the system is too rigid, that is a rigidity in the system. Okay, then it becomes too much rigidity oblique status quo. System is status quoist जिसको बोला जाता है. System is status quoist means system is not changing. Okay, it's fixed. Status quo, everybody understand? Okay, status quo is as it is. Okay, it do not change. It is do not change, and they are so rigid about it. Okay, That is why bureaucratic apathy is being equated to bureaucratic apathy. Okay, it's a sort of apathy. That is, apathy is indifference and insensitivity. Okay, bureaucratic apathy. Actually, apathy is a generic term, but now we are writing this adjective bureaucracy because bureaucracy all are insensitive and indifferent, particularly towards the weaker section of the society. Okay, so that's why where we see these days the bureaucratic attitude, that is rule-based attitude, has been negatively tagged as it is a very rigid attitude, it is a status quoist approach, it is apathy sort of towards the society, etc., etc. Okay, so that's about the demerit of it. Yes, please. Huh. 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 Hmm. 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 Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. So, do you think that the lower level of bureaucracy, the corruption continues without the knowledge of the district magistrate? Do you think that this is what is it different from that? See, the thing is why you want to delay everything. See that why the leaders are there. Leaders are there in order to make the subordinates accountable. It's your job. If you are very upright officer, if you are very strong leader, then what is happening in your district, you should know. You should take an action against those who are denying the basic services to the people. You should suspend such officer. You should give a strong signal to the subordinates. In fact, I would say that it is more responsibilities on the leader. They are going to do. Lower people or at any point of hierarchy, people will continue to do what they wish to do. Okay, we are saying that everybody is not moral, so people will be corrupt. So accountability is very important. Once the accountability will be there, then change will start happening. Apart from this, that is accountability and etc. Yes, the efforts has to be also been taken into account, that he should regularly visit. He should also imbibe the spirit of public service orientation into them. Yes, certainly. We are not saying, in fact, only the leader is responsible for this thing. The whole system, and you cannot only say that lower people are only responsible. In fact, if they are doing such things, it is for the leaders to stand strong and take an action against them. ठीक है? Ultimately, आपके ऊपर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आ जाती है. ठीक है? एक से फॉर एग्जांपल लोअर साइड में भी तहसील लेवल के भी ऊपर करप्शन आ गया. Okay, so obviously public will say that this governance completely, okay, is responsible for the corruption and what the IS officer was doing. So there is not fixing responsibility is also important. So if you are not doing it, then there is no deterrence, and when there is no deterrence, such things keep on happening. So यही है कि मतलब एक जन को it's not about that thing. Okay, certainly we need a change, holistic change, okay, from the lower level of bureaucracy to the topmost bureaucracy. Again, now if you see the other way around, bureaucracy, district magistrate is also the last person in the hierarchy. If you see from the secretary level to the implementation level, okay, within a central service cadre, now he is at the district level, but there are a lot many corruption and siphoning of fund. He is not getting the fund for the expenditure. So he, in that regard, is at the lower side of the bureaucracy when the people at the higher side of the bureaucracy are not using the fund efficiently. So yes, there are lot many problems. और जहाँ पे ऐसे प्रॉब्लम हो वहाँ पे लीडरशिप स्ट्रांग होनी चाहिए. ठीक है. So yes, let's come to this part, that is demerit. Is there any demerit of democratic attitude, if at all? Hmm? Is there any demerit? Pardon? Yes, it will delay the process every time you are going into the. First of all, in fact, the most important one is it's very difficult to generate the common consensus. Okay, because when you are seeing that heterogeneous section, some other way, किसी ना किसी section of society का interest, hamper हो जाएगा, या फिर there will be a section of people in the society who has a vested interest not to let the decision happen. Okay, so democracy में consensus develop करना is a very very challenging task, and therefore the um, the possibility of generating the consensus is difficult every time. Okay, possibility of generating the consensus is difficult. That is, generating evolving consensus is difficult. We are not saying that it is impossible. Okay, and difficult hai because you have to like take into account everybody's thing, and obviously this will also delay the process. So second, you can write as a it will also delay the process. So maybe in time of exigencies and etc. Every decision cannot be like you go into the public and ask for the decision. Okay, but then what is the way forward? If you are saying that if that cannot be, there is a difficulty. So should we go for that or should we go for this? What is a desirable and what is a way forward? Because sometimes they are two mutually exclusive things also. समझ में आ रहा है? Mutually exclusive. Okay, you cannot put them together. If you are following rules, you cannot be a democratic. That you want to follow the objectivity, but then you will go to the public. So it will not happen. Public will say something else, and Raw is saying something else. Or if you are going to the public, then generation of consensus is different and rules is different. So which one is more important, and what should be the approach? Hmm. Hmm? Huh. Good. Hmm. Good, very good. That's a one point. Okay, important decisions that is going to affect the different section of society. Sensitive decisions, important decisions, where there is a controversy, there is people are divided upon it. Okay, say for example, just an example like land acquisition. Okay, so section of the society is going to get affected. जैसे tribal है, farmers है, etc. etc. If you are completely ignoring their viewpoints and just taking into account development. Okay, we are not saying development is not important, but then such decisions will be largely debated, discussed, etc. That's the one thing. Yes. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. 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 Fine. Okay, but the thing is that we have seen that there is always a chance that it becomes a majoritarianism. Okay, so the minority, in fact, I would say that when this issue of minorities involved, you have to, in fact, be more concerned about it. No, when I'm saying that, no, you didn't get the point. I'm saying if the decision where the interest of minorities is involved, okay, think of something which is their interest, and you are not consulting that class only. Majority will overrule. Okay. So yes, or bataya, what should be the way forward? That is one or two things. What's the way forward? Should we do away with the rules and regulations because we have earned the tag of bureaucratic apathy and etc.? No. See, the thing is, when the bureaucracy has formed on the basis of rules and regulation, in fact, that is for which the bureaucracy is known for. That's the striking difference. Okay, the Max Weber, when has came up with this idea of bureaucracy. Okay, so he has talked about that there is a hierarchy, and each one will be working as per the rules and regulations, and there is a mandate. So it is a not a personalized one, it is a professional part. Okay, impersonal you are understanding. Okay, that where rules and regulations are more important and not the person's orientation or subjectivity. You need to bring an objectivity. So we have to say that yes, rules and regulations are important because ultimately governance should impartiality, objectivity, rule of law are very fundamental things. But then we are just simply saying that this rigidity should not be there. Okay, rigidity should not be there. That problem is not, nobody is questioning that rules and laws should not be there. Problem is the approach with which you are trying to implement rules and laws. You are taking rules and law as a means, okay, in order to stop the people from availing the services. Okay, you are using the rules and laws as a tools, okay, in order to create a bridge, a gap between the public and the bureaucracy, okay. So rules and laws are the means and public service is an end. This approach has to be there, okay. What has happened, the rules and regulations become end in itself. Rules and regulations become end in itself. Rules and regulations are simply means and public service is an end. So if at all sometimes rules are too rigid, you can change in a sense that you can make them flexible. You can, according to the situation and circumstances, look for the problems, and you can suggest the reforms also. Reforms in the sense that can exceptions can be made to this, can a person be made more eligible, or for that matter if the rules cannot be changed, say for example what he has said that at lower level of bureaucracy this person cannot change the decision, okay, it will take, he has to write a letter that at this particular area this problem is being faced, so can we make certain changes and flexibility to the rules, and it will take some time. Meantime, he, rather than he is having one thing he has to do is this. Second thing he has to do is he has to go an extra mile in order to see that what are the problems that is being faced by him, why he is not getting the documents, what is his concern, okay, what are the problems that he is facing. So sitting with him and making the process facilitative wherein he can get the documents. So it does not mean that you have to like flout the rules and regulations when you have made it at first place. It simply means that you need to bring more empathy and compassion while implementing the decisions. Okay, and this empathy and compassion itself is a democratic component. Democratic attitude, although we have given the definition that is a decision making should be based upon the democracy, but democracy is more than this. Okay, democracy and democratic way comes at all the stage, from the before decision, after decision, during decision, feedback level, everywhere. So it means that you need to engage the people rather than completely, okay, that what is he saying, that there is a disconnect. The rules and regulation has become a sort of a disconnect between the people. So way forward you can say that, and in fact the last thing you should remember is when the rules and laws are to be made, then there has to be a democratic decision. समझ में आ रहा है? जब आप law और rules first place में जब आप बना रहे हो, तभी you follow the due process. Okay, due process, it has to be made with a lot of consensus, so that once the rules and law will be formed and people will accept it, then you should follow the rules and regulation. Problems, why this happens? Because you do not take into account the different problems of society, different sections of society and their interests while formulating the laws. And then there is a problem in implementation. So rules and laws, when to be formed, it should be through the democratic method, and at the implementation level you can take care the interest and different sort of thing, and you should be more empathetic and compassionate with respect to implementation of law. It does not mean, let me repeat, that you should flout the laws or you should not observe the laws. Okay, so it has to go hand in hand. Okay. Also, one more point can be added, that all the situation and circumstances cannot be defined objectively in rules and regulation. Okay, there will be certain circumstances where the rule are silent or rule does not speak anything about it. This is something, issues of discretionary power. Okay, say for example, like rules and regulation has talked about some distribution of resources on the basis of ABC criteria. Out of 100 resources, 100 units of resource, you have just received 10 units. Now, which are the people who should first receive these 10 units? There can be a lot of debate. Okay. Now, rules have not talked about it, because rule has simply said that when the 100 units of resources will be there, how will you distribute? So, at that particular point of time, whether you adopt a favorable approach, whether you adopt elitism approach, whether you adopt democratic approach, so that counts really a lot. I hope the point is clear. Okay, so you should say that both should go hand in hand. And although this part has become the point of discussion of this, and that's why this question in fact has been asked, that is bureaucratic attitude these days, although it is a impartiality this thing, but today's time it becomes this. Okay, so too much of rigidity is there. That's why we have to show a more flexibility towards it. In fact, here that's what we are saying, that if we adopt the rigid approach, Rigid approach becomes more flexible and more responsive. Responsive. This status quoism, rather than status quoist, it should be change oriented. Okay, rather than apathy, there should be empathy and compassion. Empathy and compassion, and that is why we have to complement this, or for that matter, one more thing, that today it is being tagged as it is a elitist orientation. It is a elitist service. Okay, they work in the interest of the people at the apex of pyramid. Okay, or the higher in the hierarchy. So from elitist to public oriented, service oriented, or simply say that public service oriented. Okay, so this is what we have to change the face, and we need to bring the changes in the manner in which we are delivering the governance or running the governance. That's again a very, very fundamental question, I would say. And in fact, all this paper 4 has been introduced because we need to bring democratic attitude. Weberian model of bureaucracy was strictly following the rules and regulation, and it has been called as, it becomes an inhuman way of administration. Because it is an inhuman way of administration, therefore we have to bring certain humanistic element, okay? And this humanistic element, through the democratic method, through the empathy, through the compassion, through the values, through good attitude, that is a broader attitude, through ethics, morality, etc., etc. Okay, so that the governance should be citizen-centric governance, public-centric governance. These days we call it as a good governance. Okay, so the governance should be a good governance. So that's the point. Yes, please. Hmm. Hmm. Huh. Hmm. 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 Yes. Hmm. Yes. Yes, not only a parallel facilitation, okay, parallel is also a temporary arrangement, I would say. Whatever you have said that this is required, you should also create a foolproof mechanism where the people can avail those things hassle-free, okay. It means that you are coming up with certain laws and regulation, you should make an availability of those laws before saying that you are not following the law. People, how will you people follow the law when there is no facility, no accessibility, and rest of the things? Okay, yes, certainly. And as a temporary measure, you can, just to not to stop him from getting the services, you can make a temporary arrangement. But ultimately, you have to create a robust mechanism, the mechanisms that you intend to create, which you have not created, or maybe you have created but it is abundant, or maybe created but it is not functioning. Okay, likewise. Yes, and many times it also happens because it will requires a lot of resources. It takes the time. Say, for example, something has been introduced recently, something for which there is always a problem of resource crunch. Okay, in such situation, at least you should understand that it is a failure on part of the state, government, bureaucracy, political class that we haven't able to deliver. So you need to be more empathetic with them. Okay, that we understand your problem. Being a sensitive. Yes. So the problems may occur at the ground level, like we have the public distribution system where lot many problems are being faced at PDS level. Like you have introduced Aadhaar card, you have introduced lot many things, but then that biometric authentication is not happening. Okay. Now people are standing in a queues for hours together. Okay. In fact, there are certain impacts which have been discussed, wherein the family members are sending the children that go and see that whether this biometric has started functioning or not, और जो authentication process है तो कहीं पे कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, कहीं के कुछ प्रॉब्लम है. सो ऐसी भी प्रॉब्लम्स आने चालू हो गई कि स्कूल छोड़ के वो वहाँ पे ही खड़ा है कि राशन नहीं दिया जा सकता जब तक इसका ऑथेंटिकेशन नहीं हो सकता. सो दीज आर द प्रोसीजरल प्रॉब्लम्स एट द ग्राउंड लेवल. You need to be more flexible with regard to this. Okay, so yes, these are the two issues, and both the things are required. Both both things should go hand in hand as per the situation, circumstances. Okay. Now write the next chapter, that is aptitude and foundational values of civil services. Aptitude and foundational values. In fact, we have studied attitude, and now we have to study the aptitude. So yes, what is on the face? What is the difference? What is an aptitude when we say about aptitude? What does it represent? Hmm? Yes, having, yes, capacity to do something. Yes, yes. Anybody else? Yes, you're right. But more interest, inclination. Yes, yes. Anybody else? What is an aptitude? When we say that a person has aptitude of something to do something, hmm, what does it imply? We see that whether no, this person does not have the aptitude, so he should not go for it. This we see, or sometimes we make a comment, he has a very good aptitude, so let him do this thing. Skill and qualities, yes. So, yes. uh, Yes, very good. In fact, that's the precise. See, the thing is, aptitude is not something which is a proven capacity. It's not a proven capacity. It's just on the basis of certain features. Okay, you predict that this particular person will do well in XYZ area. Okay, so for example, when I'm saying like in the school days, when we say that okay, this person seems to be very good aptitude for the music and painting. Okay, so please make him give an admission in a music school or in an art school. He will become a good artist or good musician. Now, when I'm making a comment on the child, it's not a proven that he has become a great musician, okay, or a great artist. It's just on the basis of certain features we are making the prediction that he may perform. Like say for example, Sachin Tendulkar when must be playing, okay, in Shivaji Stadium there in Mumbai, and for the first time when he was in class 10 and teacher has saw the skills in him. He was not knowing he was the great Sachin Tendulkar then. Okay, he just said that seems to be a very good kid, promising kid. He has an aptitude for the cricket and sport, so let him play the cricket. So the thing is here, the very point is aptitude is not a proven thing. Okay, but certainly there are certain inherent or natural tendencies to do something in a better manner than the rest. Okay, there is a whatever the aptitude that you carry. Now, unless and until you give the training, okay, he cannot develop the full capacity and the skills to perform it. Okay, so the training component is important in order to hone the sort of aptitude. When you train it, then he develops the capacity, and he practice it, he develop the skills. Okay, he become an expert in that. But like say for example, we have this aptitude tests. Aptitude test is also before you join the organization, the minimum level they are trying to see that whether he has the aptitude of decision making, understanding the problems, and etc. so that tomorrow when he joins the organization, he can understand the complexities of organization and can perform well. Okay, so this is a natural, or say for example, inherited quality, okay, to do something in a certain particular manner, and this particular manner can be developed into a full-fledged capacity and the skill later on in future through the method of training. Okay, I hope the point is clear. And let me say again that whether everybody has an aptitude or not. What do you think about it when we say that any particular thing? Yes, everybody has aptitude is about, see, when we take about Tendulkar in cricket, okay, again, it's very important that a person may be having a good aptitude for something, may not be good having a good aptitude for other things. Okay, so whenever you are saying aptitude, you have to also say that aptitude is with respect to what? Okay, that is. Now here, if we are talking about the cricket and talking about the Tendulkar, okay, we may say that his aptitude is very good. Okay. Now, what about the rest then? Is the only Tendulkar has an aptitude, or the Sehwag, or those people who are in the cricket team, they are having aptitude, rest or not? Okay, so the understanding here is everybody has certain level. Okay, it's not that aptitude is, there are certain level. He may be having a very good aptitude, he may be having a mediocre, he may be having a very low aptitude. There is an aptitude. Okay, some he may not able to do that fine shot and square cut and etc. But he can manage something. Okay, not to fall the wicket, थोड़ा सा रह जाता है वहाँ पे, ठीक है. So now, why we are going for whether a person has an aptitude or not? Say for example, here there is one person and here there is one person. So by method of training, Tendulkar may require only 2 sessions. This person may require 10 sessions. This person may require 100 sessions. Okay, so it means that you can develop a capacity in everyone, but the thing is, the amount of energy and investment that is required for the training will be more with a person with low aptitude. Okay, so that's how every person has some sort of inherent tendency to manage the things. Maybe it is not so good with respect to the rest of the things, but he has certain ability to do it. Okay, now the pianist or musician, you must be also having some sort of an aptitude, but then not as good as the great people who are great musician when they were in their school time. So you may need to work hard, okay, more as compared to rest of the others. I hope the point is clear. So it is not proven. So 3, 4 things you should remember. Aptitude is something at a given day. What is it? Then through the method of training, you develop it into the capacity. So write something about it. That is, aptitude is innate. INNAT. Innate means by birth. Okay, aptitude is innate or natural tendency. Innate or natural tendency of a person to acquire the capacity and skill in future, to acquire the capacity and skills in future, acquire the capacity and skills in future through the method of training, through the method of training, through the method of training. Aptitude is different for different things. Aptitude is different, or different people have different, just rewrite it. Different people have different aptitude for different things. Different people have different aptitude for different things. For different things. In other words, person may have very good aptitude. Person may have very good aptitude for sports. May not have a good aptitude for music, may not have good aptitude for music, and vice versa. Okay. It is also important to note, it is also important, it is also important to note that unless the sufficient training is provided, unless the sufficient training and practice, unless the sufficient training and practice is provided, person cannot able to realize his full aptitude. Person cannot able to or cannot realize his potential fully. Potential in bracket aptitude. Unless a sufficient training or practice is provided, person may not able to utilize his potential or aptitude fully. So training component becomes an important. So aptitude only gives you the chance, training and this gives you a certainty. So you have to practice on that regard. So you should understand that, see, this is a very very technical concept है, तो आपको ऐसे ही याद रखना है. But the thing is, now when we are talking about this, this is required for a very specific understanding. But when we talk about now aptitude in general, aptitude of civil servants, we are being more liberal in defining it. Ultimately, he has said that about the capacity. So we are by and large liberally taking it as a capacity, because ultimately whether you have that tendency to acquire the capacity in the future. Okay. So all the components, when we talk about aptitude, we are actually talking about the whether the person ultimately will develop the capacity in something or not, whether he is capable of something or not. But then foundational values of civil services is only capacity is not important, but you need to complement the capacity with respect to certain values also. Okay. Capacity will give you only chance, but the value will guide that capacity. Okay. If you don't have good values, you may use the capacity for your own advantage rather than using the advantage of public, or rather than the welfare of all, or rather than for the desirable purpose. So rather than desirable purpose, you may use the capacity for undesirable purpose, or maybe for your self-interest. You may misuse the capacity, you may misuse the power, corruption, nepotism, favoritism, crony capitalism, all such things can happen if you have a capacity but not guided by the foundational or the moral values. Understood? So right now the aptitude of for an civil servants. Okay, let me again give you this और समझने के लिए बता रहा हूँ. Like say for example UPSC exam. Actually they will try to test your aptitude, the whole. Then when you go into the training, like in case of Masuri, okay, this aptitude is being tested, but then there will be a training with regard to it. In case of Masuri, okay, or for that matter, जहाँ पे भी है अलग अलग सर्विसेज की. सो ये जो है ट्रेनिंग जहाँ पे भी सेंटर्स है, उसके बाद जब आप ग्राउंड लेवल पे जाते हो, तब यू डेवलप द स्किल, you will develop the practice, okay, practice and experience. You develop the skill. Here you develop the capacity. So these three words should be very clear to you. Okay. When I say that aptitude, it is not proven, but through the method of training, I can develop the capacity. When I develop the capacity through the experience, like when you are joining some cadre, some 10-15 years of experience, you develop the skill. Okay, that become you are an expert in that. Okay, so this is how it goes. When we say about aptitude, we want to see that he can be a great leader, he can be a great musician, he can be this and that. So training is one part, and experience and practice is another part. All of you are following? Okay, so aptitude is something which help us to make a prediction for the future with respect to a person. Capacity is something what you possess today, And skill is that it is a proven that you are very good in something. All of you are understanding? Aptitude is not a capacity. It is like you may develop a good capacity. Capacity is today I have the capacity, I can do the things. And skill is something I have done the things and I'm very, very well versed into it. That's about the skilled diplomat. When we are saying skilled diplomat, it is not a newly appointed IFS officer. It's about 10, 15 years of diplomacy he has done and he is a very well-known diplomat. That is a skilled diplomat. I hope the points are clear. Okay, so right, that is the aptitude of civil servant or public servant, like aptitude for public servant or civil servant. Now, although we are strictly talking about civil services, but different public service, if you see, that aptitude is divided into two parts, maybe the physical attributes, although it is not that important unless this part, I'll explain that physical attributes and intellectual attributes. Intellectual attributes. Now, physical attributes is basically your height, eyesight, chest expansion. Okay, so there are basic parameters. Although, let me say this, these are more important if military services, police services, paramilitary forces, okay, there maybe physical attribute is more important because on this you can make a prediction that he can be a strong soldier, he can be a strong policeman, etc., etc. Okay, maybe this height IPS officer के लिए important है या etc. Here, when we are saying public service, every public service we are talking about. So depending upon what sort of a job you are taking, physical attributes may be important. Like there are other exams where the physical attributes are also important. For the bureaucrats per se, it is the intellectual attributes that matters a lot. Now, what are the things that are included in the intellectual attributes? Intellectual attributes, you have this logical reasoning, decision-making ability, analytical ability, then comprehension ability, etc. So something what we study in the CSAT paper, this logical reasoning, decision making, analytical comprehension. So as a leader, if you see that you need to understand the different dimensions of the problem. To resolve the problem, first you understand the problem or not. Okay, and understanding the problem means understanding the different dimensions of the problem. Do you have this analysis like for the problems there are 10 possible solutions, 5 possible solutions. Do you have the ability to see the merits and demerits of every possible solutions? Can you able to think out of this 5 possible solution which is an ideal solution? Can you think which is the most pragmatic solution in a given situation? So these kinds require a certain minimum mental attributes, okay, in order to understand the complexities of society, and these complexities can be tested through the intellectual attributes. Once you have this, then one can make a prediction, okay, he may become a good leader because he has that tendency of understanding the problems and making the decisions, etc. So he has that leadership quality, or he can become a bureaucrat. So that's about the intellectual attributes. Now, when we say about this intellectual attribute, this is technically the most important word, but the whole UPSC's examination is about trying to test, okay, just loosely calling it knowledge as a capacity, whether you possess this knowledge, do you know something about history, something about geography, something about Indian constitution, etc. So this whole process of whether it is a prelim, whether it is a, now strictly speaking, when we say that aptitude is tested in prelims, no, it's complete aptitude test only. That while selecting the candidates, they are trying to select whether they have a minimum knowledge, that is they have the minimum knowledge so that they can develop as a leaders of tomorrow. Okay, so through the mains they are trying to say the depth of the knowledge, so the interview they are trying to say something, through the prelims they are trying to see something. Okay, and the whole process is about selection process, so that whether you are fit into the system or not. So that's about the aptitude. I hope the point is clear. In fact, the focus of chapter is not on aptitude per se. The focus of chapter is actually on the second part, that is a foundational values, to say that mere aptitude is not important and aptitude has to be complemented by yes, foundational values, or the basic moral values. In fact, liberally also, like these days, see, we have taken first very hyper-technical definition of aptitude. We have said aptitude is different from the capacity. Aptitude is strictly speaking that you can only make the prediction through the method of training. But then we have said that loosely taking, we can take this attributes and talk about whether he has a capacity or not, something to do with. The more liberal way of interpreting, when we say that whether the bureaucrat has an aptitude for leadership or not, it actually includes his foundational values also into it. Okay, it means that like one of the foundational values is that empathy and compassion. Okay, although seems to be a value, but that's a part of your aptitude. Aptitude in a sense that do you have a sensitivity of understanding the problems of others. Okay, emotional intelligence, do you have a capacity to control your emotions? And if you are a rash, if you are very short tempered, if you are give a very reactionary, if you possess the reactionary attitude, okay, so you may not be able to a very good leader, because here you require a self restraint, you require a control on your anger, control on your emotions, control on your anxiety, etc. So basically, if you interpret in a very liberal way, the whole point is about checking the civil servant's aptitude. Okay, but we are breaking it so that the understanding will be more clear. समझ में आ रहा है how it is? The complete chapter is also about the aptitude. That is, when you have to become a civil servant in Indian society, you should not have only the knowledge of textbook. You should also have the knowledge of context. Okay, so that your knowledge should be used in the proper context, and therefore you require a lot of sensitivity in understanding the problems. Okay, so that's about it. So write this foundational values of civil services. Okay, right. The foundational values of civil services. That's in fact the primary chapter for us. Okay, there are two questions, but all the questions will be addressed. In fact, that's a part of we are going to discuss. So let's go more systematically. Is being said that impartiality is more in case of democratic approach than in bureaucratic approach. Is it so? We are going to discuss impartiality. So the answer will be there. As it is known that the bureaucracy is tagged with the apathy, so what are the steps that are being taken to change the rules and regulations in changing the attitude of bureaucrats? See, it's not about the change in rules and regulations that are required. It is required to change the mindset, which requires a training. Okay, rules and regulations, एक है कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट और कोड ऑफ एथिक्स हमने देखा था. Okay, that's the answer. In fact, code of conduct are rules and regulations which are trying to bring the behavioral change into you. Okay, it will only ensure the behavior without changing in the larger your attitude. Yesterday का याद आ रहा है, plant behavior and then completely change in your person, so that person start feeling. So code of conduct ensure the minimum behavior, but code of ethics, in fact that's the chapter of foundational values, these needs to be inculcated through the method of reorientation, through training, through different seminars, okay, through different mechanisms like such as reward, punishment, rewarding someone who is practicing those values, punishing those who are not practicing it. So there are various ways. In fact, that's the chapter that we are doing. Okay, let's do it more in an organized manner. Right, the foundational values of civil services. A civil servant has a larger responsibility. Civil servant has a larger responsibility in a democracy like India. In a democracy like India, he is responsible for he is responsible for advising the advising the political class. He is responsible for advising the political class in bracket government in bracket government for with regard to formulation of different state and public policies. Regard to formulation of different policies, okay, public policies, state policies. Second, he is also instrumental. He is also instrumental. He is also instrumental in implementing the decisions. He is also instrumental in implementing the decisions and policies. Decisions and policies. Policies. He is vested with. He is vested with lot of power. He is vested with lot of power. And he is a holder of public purse. And he is a holder of public purse. Public purse is finances, okay, in bracket. That is taxpayers' money is there with them, okay. He is holder of public purse and there is a lot of power is vested in them. The decisions taken by the civil servants. The decisions taken by the civil servants have wider ramification or impact, consequence, whatever you want to write. Decisions taken by civil servant have wider ramification, you understand? There is impact, okay? Impact on the society. In this context, civil servant must follow certain basic moral and ethical principles. Certain basic moral and ethical principles which help him discharging his duties, which help him in discharging his duties in a more professional manner. Discharging duties in a more professional manner. Okay, this is introduction you can use anywhere. Okay, that's a common. For any value you pick up, this discussion will be common. That we have just discussed in two ways. One is like what is his role in democracy. His role is broadly two. One is advisory role, that is advising the policies, okay, with respect to the government. Okay, civil servants. This is a political class or public representatives or government, and this is a recommendatory role and this is a role for implementation. Okay, so at both the levels he is instrumental in democracy, although the ultimate decision is taken by this. Okay, so this is one thing we have written. Second thing we have also written why he needs to be a more ethical and moral than rest. Okay, even from the common man. Okay, we are not saying that common man should not be immoral, but he is required to be a more because there is a lot of power invested in him. Okay, and this power has to be used. A power is given with a mandate so that he should use the power in the larger public interest. He is a holder of public purse. People are paying the tax. Okay, so he is a holder of public purse. So there has to be a judicious use of resources, or there has to be optimal use of resources. Otherwise, he may use the resources for his own end. And his decision has a wider ramification. Maybe you are taking a decision at individual level, but that might hamper the human rights, fundamental rights, different socio-economic rights of larger section of the society. In this context, he needs to be a more ethical and moral, so that uh, he should be discharging his duty in a more professionally competent manner. Okay, professionally competent in the sense that, see, the word competency is about capacity only. Okay, when we say that somebody is competent to do something, it is something like aptitude. But when we say professionally competent, means that is the competency that has to be used for the mandate which is given by your profession. And here the mandate is public service. So when we say that you want to discharge your duties in a more professional manner, it means that you are supposed to discharge your duties for the larger interest of society. I hope points are clear. Okay, so this is a very general and you can use everywhere. Okay, now write that some of the basic values, right, next paragraph, some of the basic values, some of the basic values that are to be possessed by civil servant or public servant, to be possessed by public servant, can be studied, can be studied by analyzing, by analyzing or studying two lists, two lists. Okay. Now the two lists are, one list is Nolan committee. Okay. So write the first, that is a Nolan committee, and the second list is by the ARC recommendation. So one is given by the Nolan committee, and second is ARC recommendations. ARC recommendations. Okay. We are going to do ARC first because Nolan committee's definition are narrow. Okay, narrow in a sense that they are very restrictive. They are speaking about one specific part only. Also, there is a fundamental difference between the two because although there are fundamentally they are similar, but there are certain differences also. Because Nolan committee's thing is basically what we discuss here in case of Weberian model of bureaucracy, rules and regulations. आपको ऑब्जर्व करने के लिए what are the things that are required, जैसे transparency, accountability, impartiality, objectivity, okay, in order to make this service rules oriented, law oriented, etc. These points are also discussed by the ARC, but ARC is going beyond that. They are also adding the values such as empathy, compassion, tolerance, dedication to public service, etc. Because when you apply the things in case of in the context of third world countries like India, the kind of the bureaucracy and their value system, you cannot just follow only those principles, okay? Because in case of Western societies, the society is already developed. So people already know what they are entitled to. People are aware. People are well educated. People can go and avail the benefits. Okay, so society is very developed. So the role of bureaucracy in third world countries is sorry, in case of Western society is not that big. Okay, they just have to be a strict implementer of rules and regulation. Beyond that, they don't have to do anything. In case of third world countries or in India, because the society is underdeveloped, society is developing, people are illiterate, heterogeneity is there, people are not aware of their rights, people do not have the purchasing power in order to avail the benefits. So in such context, it's not just the rules and regulations. He's just sitting and just somebody is coming and implementing. He's also a leader. He's not just a sort of a worker, okay, or an employee who is just implementing the policies. So his role is instrumental in going into the public, listening to them, showing an empathy and compassion, whatever the things that we have discussed. Okay, in this context, therefore, we need certain more values. Okay, and these values have been emphasized by the ARC. Also, the third thing is because their definition is very restricted, they have picked up one component while defining. So here we will take a more extensive discussion, more liberal discussion, that all possible things that can be covered under one particular value we will discuss. And later on, then we'll see the Nolan Committee also. Nolan Committee is because it's a very famous committee. It's a first of its kind, who came up to recommend on what are the basic minimum values that are required to be possessed by the civil servant. That's why we take. Again, this ARC recommendation, these are recommendations. These are not written yet. Okay, ARC is making a recommendation. See, in case of code of ethics and code of conduct, जो column बनाया था मैंने, याद आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? हाँ? अच्छा, you were not there. So code of ethics में लिखाया था मैंने. These are the general principles. और उसमें example में दो लिखाए थे, that is Nolan Committee and ARC recommendation. And we have also made the ARC observation. Okay, ARC observation that these are not written in India, COE, but COC are written in India. That is in the form of all India rules and regulations and etc. So these foundational values or Nolan Committee, these are also the source of code of ethics. Okay, these are nothing but code of ethics. COE, code of ethics, because these are the general value guidelines. Okay, whereas code of conduct are specific rules of conduct. Okay, so right first, that is a ARC recommendation. ARC recommendation. So what are the different values? So first take a list, that is first honesty and integrity. Make a list of values. Honesty and integrity. Second, you can write objectivity, impartiality, oblique impartiality, oblique non-partisanship. Okay, honesty and integrity, objectivity, impartiality, non-partisan. Non-partisanship. In bracket also you can write here, ऐसे थोड़ा सा नीचे करके लिखो bracket में, political neutrality. This is subset of it. Political neutrality. This is subset. Then write transparency, accountability. Then you have dedication to public service, empathy, compassion, tolerance, courage, leadership. Okay, so some of the values are there. So we'll discuss one by one. Although the ARC obviously has not given the discussion, okay, they have simply said that these are values to be possessed. But if you see the previous year's question paper and etc., they will pick up one or two values and they will ask you, what do you understand by integrity? And why civil servant should possess the integrity? Or for that matter, what do you understand by empathy and compassion? What do you understand by tolerance? So each value, you should know the definition. You should know what is its implication from the civil servant's point of view. And you should also know how these values are in general are important from the society's point of view also. Okay, so first write honesty and integrity. Honesty and integrity. Honesty and integrity. Yes, are these terms similar, honesty and integrity, or do you see any difference between the two? Similarity. What is an integrity and what is an honesty? What is what your understanding is? Uh, all the aspects, specific and all the aspects. Can you explain with the examples or more elaborate? Hmm? Can you give some example? Hmm. Officer छोड़ दो, in general बताओ. You can give an example also. This is honesty, this is integrity. Yes, anybody else? Yes, you have a point. You have a point, but needs and better articulation or थोड़ा सा बताइए. Hmm. Yes, anybody else? What is an honesty? Honesty is a behavior, integrity is an attitude. Okay. I would not say wrong, but can you elaborate more on that? So, how does it get manifested, both of them? Hmm. So, one subset is honesty. So, what is there in integrity more than honesty? You are, no, no, let him answer. So, he is right that honesty is subset of integrity. So, we are saying what is there in integrity more than honesty? Okay, okay. Truthfulness is a common thread. It is about truthfulness. Yes, very, yes, very good. Is the integrity. Okay, see that the thing is, truthfulness is the component which connect the both of them. When we say that man of integrity, it is about he is also holder of truth. Honesty, we understand he is also holder of truth. But when we say about truth, okay, and honesty is simply like we are not saying that honesty is wrong, but relatively when we are comparing, the integrity is far more bigger value than the honesty. Now, first pay an attention. See, yes, you were saying something. Integrity, yes. How do you explain that? What does it mean? Yes, that's a key phrase that is being used in integrity. What is the underlying message when she's saying that when nobody is watching us, what we do is integrity? Internal component is there. Self accountability, yes. See, the thing is, first let me give because she has given an example. If I'm walking on a street or maybe in a metro, okay. Now I saw this magenta pink 2000 notes lying on the floor. And I also happens to see there are CCTV cameras, okay, and there are some people in nearby. Then what I am going to do, maybe the perhaps the honesty. But when nobody is watching, when there are no CCTV cameras, nobody is around you, and in public place, some 2000 rupees note is there. Now I'm not saying that you are not going to be an honest, but what you are actually going to do is your integrity. Because integrity is something, there is a consistency with respect to what you think and what you do. Okay, honesty is generally judged on the basis of your action in a given situation, whether you are honest or not. It does not know what is happening in your mind. Okay, so so that's a one component of integrity as we define it. That is, should be a consistency between what we think, what we speak, and what we do. There has to be a consistency. So the word consistency is very important here. That is consistency between what we think, what we speak, and what we do. Second, how the integrity is defined on the basis of honesty is like it is also about consistency in following honesty or truthfulness or any moral values in all the circumstances. Okay, it's not in a given day. Okay, maybe sometime you are doing something else, but when the context is changed, you are doing something else. In yet another context, you are doing something else. So that's not a man of integrity. Man of integrity will stick to his values in all the given situation. Honesty will only give you a chance to predict, not predict. They can simply say that in this situation he was an honest, but it does not speak about whether he will remain honest. tomorrow when he will be called upon by his senior, or maybe the politician, or maybe the higher ups, or maybe by the goons, and he will be intimidated. He will be intimidated that if you will not do this, and then you know the rest of the things. Okay, you know our who we are. Okay, so please follow this. So you are honest as long as you are not being intimidated. The moment you are being intimidated, you are not honest. Even after you are being intimidated, the person who is honest, he is a man of integrity, because no matter whatever the circumstances are, it is not only just the intimidation, it can be also an this inducement also. Okay, he is simply saying that some 15% will reach to you. Okay, we will not give you guns and bullets, but more magenta pink color notes will be reached to you. That's also. So it can be both the ways. It can be fear or it can be favor. It can be inducement or it can be intimidation. So at any point of time, the change of heart, in fact, it is being said that honesty is because I am not given any opportunity. As long as I am not provided with opportunity, I am honest. But the moment I am provided with opportunity, then that is the real test whether you are really honest or not. And if you are in man of integrity, then one can say that yes, like we say that Ashok Khemka, okay. Now whether he will be intimidated or he will be provided with the bribe, but at least we can safely say that he will stick to his values, okay. And we say that he is a man of impeccable integrity. So the integrity is consistency with respect to following the values in all the circumstances, and it is also consistency between what we think, what we speak, and what we do. Okay, so that's so first, right? Honesty, something about it. Honesty is being truthful. Honesty is being truthful in a given situation. Being truthful in a given situation is an honesty. In other words, there is no deception, fraud, there is no deception, fraud, fraud. Okay, so one way you say that upholding the truth, or the other way you said that there is no deception and fraud. But in a given situation, here we are writing in a given situation because we want to relatively define the integrity. Okay, so write the integrity. Integrity is consistency. This word is most key word. Okay, integrity is consistency with respect to following moral values in all the circumstances. Okay, with respect to honesty, if you want to compare, like following the honesty in all the circumstances. Honesty, when we are talking, it's only about in a given situation you are an honest. Okay. Integrity is also harm. Yes, certainly. Yes, I'll come to that point again. Yes, but you are right. That's an correct conceptualization of integrity. Okay. Now, right in continuation again. क्या लिखा है आपने? हाँ. Integrity is also about being consistent. Integrity is also about being consistent with respect to thinking, speech, and action component of individual. Thinking, being consistent with respect to thinking, speech, and action component of individual. Thinking, speech, and action component of individual. In other words, it means, it means there is no gap, or inconsistency. There is no gap or inconsistency between what one think, what one speak and what one do. There is no gap between what one think, what one speak, and what one do. Okay, so we have defined it at two ways. One is on the time scale or the circumstances, that following the values consistently in all the circumstances, and then consistency within oneself, that is following the thinking and then speech component and the action component. In fact, if you want to see the integrity, we can also think what is not integrity, and that is how we can understand also, like we see that hypocrisy or double standard. Okay, hypocrisy or double standard is what we preach that we don't follow. Okay, or what we yes. So that is something where there is a gap in between what you are preaching and what you are actually following. That's a double standard. So that's not an integrity. In fact, it is opposite of integrity. Right again. One phrase that summarizes the integrity, a catchphrase or a phrase, simply a phrase or catchphrase which summarizes the integrity, comma into inverted comma. Integrity is what one do. Integrity is what one do when nobody is observing. When nobody is observing. Okay. Inverted comma close. Can you able to appreciate this statement now? When nobody is observing means, yes, there is no accountability. So actually what you are going to do is what your thinking component tells you. So your original things will be out. So that will be an honesty. Okay. So if this line will come and discuss with reference to this, discuss the value of integrity. So you should able to interpret what is the meaning of this. When nobody is observing, it means that there is a essential continuity between his thinking component, speech and action component, because he is not bothered about the others are going to judge him. Okay, so that's about the integrity. Also, from the bureaucratic point of view, what is an integrity? Integrity is following all the values, the rest of the values. In fact, it is called as the mother of all values. Okay, because rest of 8, 10, 20, rest of the values of bureaucracy, he is consistently following those values as long as he is a part of the bureaucracy. Okay, so right in the next paragraph again, from the civil servant's point of view, integrity is with respect to following the moral and ethical values of values of profession, obviously civil servant profession, following the moral and ethical values of professions consistently in all the situation, as long as he is a part of bureaucracy. Consistently in all situation is self-explanatory here, as long as he is a part of civil services. So consistently in all situation means it's not that when there is no fear and favor. So this concludes that even when he is intimidated or even when he is offered the bribe, he will still upholding the values of morality and ethics. That becomes a man of integrity. Okay, समझ में आया integrity and honesty? हाँ please. हाँ, we are coming to that. हाँ हाँ, we are writing in fact that. Now write next. इसमें ये है कि we are also giving certain 3 types of integrity. But let me say that this classification is not a very good classification. Okay, just the relative classification. I'll explain that why it is not a very good classification later on. But first write, because books में लिखा है फिर और जब आपको 200 वर्ड्स का केवल इंटीग्रिटी आ जाता है तो आपको लिखना है और उसमें काफ़ी मैसेज भी है, ऐसे नहीं है. सो राइट three types of, we will, that's what we are discussing, okay, right? That is different types of integrity. Different types of integrity. Okay, first you write the moral integrity. Moral integrity. Now, moral integrity is something that we have discussed, that is about consistently following the moral values in all situations, right? Just consistently following moral values in all situation. This also involves, this also involves applying the same criteria for the moral judgment. This also involves applying the same criteria, applying the same criteria for the moral judgment to oneself as we apply for the others, as we apply for the others. देखिए मॉरल इंटीग्रिटी आप दूसरों को तो बहुत ज़्यादा इवेलुएट करते हो, बहुत हाई स्टैंडर्ड्स रहते हैं, बट व्हेन इट द पॉइंटर इज एट यू, यू से यू ट्राई एंड जस्टिफाई, नो दिस इज my situation is different. So when you are saying that situation is different, mine is different, you are not a man of integrity. Okay, a man of integrity, he will have all the criteria for the same. So that's a moral integrity. Next is intellectual integrity. Intellectual integrity. Now, what is the intellectual integrity? See, the thing is, when you give your, when you speak about opinion, okay, on different things, there are two things: how much you are honest with respect to whatever the ideas that you are giving, okay, or opinion that you are giving. Are you borrowing the ideas and then just telling that as it your own, okay? Something like, let me say that whenever you are making an opinions or whenever you are coming with certain intellectual activity, are you honest with your intellectual activity or not? Let's first let's understand this by taking violation of intellectual integrity. These days, this plagiarism, you understand? What is a plagiarism? Huh? Copy pasting, okay, copy pasting something from the internet or etc. Like say for example, I am publishing a book, okay, I have copy pasted the different matters and then I'm publishing and selling into the market without giving a due credit to the writer, okay, or the source from where I have collected. So this is a lack of intellectual integrity on my part. I'm doing certain intellectual activity which I am actually, it is not my own. There is a dishonesty with respect to that. There is no truthfulness with respect to that. So that's about the, so intellectual integrity means one should be truthful and honest with respect to one's intellectual activity. That is about one's, with respect to one's opinions, with one respect to any kind of intellectual activity. So that's about intellectual integrity. Plagiarism is an example, that is copy pasting and violation of this copyrights and etc. is an example where you lack the intellectual integrity. So right, this involves being truthful. This involves being truthful with respect to one's opinions, with respect to one's opinions, comma, viewpoints, with respect to one's opinions, viewpoints, or for that matter, or any intellectual activity, or any intellectual activity, any intellectual activity. Okay. Now you can also write this plagiarism. Plagiarism, Plagiarism. Plagiarism, that is copy pasting in bracket if you want to write, that is a violation of copyright. Is an example of violation of or lack of intellectual integrity is an example of violation or lack of intellectual integrity. This word is coming in news. कहाँ पे न्यूज़ में आ रहा था ये प्लेजरिज्म? हाँ हाँ, फोटोकॉपिंग। ओके, और आप क्या बोल रहे थे? ओके, और कहाँ पे? सोशल नेटवर्किंग में अभी 2-3 दिन पहले भी आ रहा था। ये हीरोइन का नाम क्या है? ये सलमान खान के भाई की पहले की वाइफ, मलाइका अरोरा। हाँ, मलाइका अरोरा ने एक वो किया था फेसबुक के ऊपर, हाँ, ट्वीट समथिंग शी हैज रिटन, आई थिंक ऑन इंस्टाग्राम शी हैज रिटन with respect to this molestation, Bangalore molestation. Very, very good, fantabulous write-up was there, gone viral, okay, about this women and etc. etc. Later on, it was found that there was some guy who wrote it on Facebook. So 100% it was copy pasted. So it was coming that this was an act of plagiarism. Okay, but nonetheless, we are not saying that. Ultimately, you have to see the larger thing. Okay, here there should not be debate whether she has copy pasted. What is more important is she has spoken and she represent that particular stand and spoken about it. Something which we would have expected that टैग किया होता, फिर नाम लिख दिया होता कर्टसी करके, तो थोड़ा और वो हो जाता, लेकिन that's how the news was. If you read the article, तो उसमें वो word आ रहा था, it was a plagiarized act that she has taken it from. 3 years back, this yes, हाँ, it was also in the news. Yes, that's what I was taking. And there are many cases. Okay, the great peoples, and there sometimes it happens that there is act of plagiarism, and there are lot many allegations. Sometimes it happens. Okay, yes. So that's the intellectual integrity. Now the next one, that is organizational integrity. फरीद झकारिया पता है नाम? Farid Zakaria, his CNN, he hosts a television news channel in America. Okay, he's a very famous Indian American. उसके ऊपर भी charges लगे थे. Although he has been absolved from the charges of plagiarism, that while presenting the news, he has taken some viewpoints and without giving a due credit, etc. One of the great journalists, okay, Indian journalist who hosts the CNN show. CNN पता है नहीं पता है? World वाला. Okay, तो वहाँ पे. Okay, anyway, so let's see that is organizational integrity. Organizational integrity, or call it as a professional integrity, oblique. एक ही है organizational or professional integrity. Now, this seems to be a little paradoxical when we say that what one think, what one he should speak and he should follow. क्या paradox है? पहले पहले discuss करने से पहले क्या paradox कुछ लग रहा है? लग ही नहीं रहा है. क्वेश्चन भी मैं ही बताऊंगा, कंफ्यूजन भी मैं. हाँ, see how we have defined the integrity, what one think that one should speak and follow. Now when we are saying organizational, so where is our component gone then? There will not be inconsistently. Organization will tell you that what you should do, and integrity, what we have defined, that what one feel we should follow that. So there is a mismatch. If you are following organizational values, we are actually not a person of integrity. This you might feel, but yes, that's true. But when we are saying organizational integrity, the moment you join the organization and carrying out organizational and professional activity, actually the thinking component should be the thinking of organization and profession. Okay, we are not saying that you sign a contract for doing wrong things. Okay, so whatever the minimum organizational value system and professional value system, that becomes your value system. So here the integrity means what the organization saying, you are following those values, okay, in all the situations, right? Organizational integrity or professional integrity. This is with respect to following. This is with respect to following the organizational values or professional values organizational or professional values consistently, so long as persons continue to be so long as person continues to be a part of an organization, a part of organization or profession, a part of organization or profession. So it means that when in this case your integrity is nothing but what is the organizational integrity. Okay. Also, it does not. Now let's take this way that what if the organization is involved in the bad practices? Okay. So you have all the scope for blowing the whistle on both the terms, personal integrity and moral integrity के ऊपर भी. Plus, organization themselves have never promised for carrying out the malpractices, unethical practices. In fact, they have committed themselves with respect to certain pious goal. So actually, you are not questioning the organization, but actually, in fact, organization themselves are moving away from the values they have committed to. Okay, so there should not be any confusion with respect to that. समझ में आ रहा है? So these are the three types. There is a moral integrity. Maybe you can consider at individual level while the judging on the basis of morality. Intellectual integrity is with respect to this, and then third, organizational and professional integrity. Okay, so that is it about this much you should know. And from the civil servant's point of view, it is about consistently following the moral values. Right, the next now, that is objectivity and this thing. Character versus integrity. Is the integrity component of character? Yes, certainly. Actually, integrity is what we follow. Character is what is we are being judged. Okay, from the other's point of view, it is a character. Your character, you are a man of impeccable integrity, something which I follow and which I will be judged and tagged, then he is a man of character. Okay, a good character. Good character will be there is again a predictability, consistency that becomes a most important factor for defining the character. हाँ, character certificates इसीलिए तो बोला जाता है character certificate. So character certificate is based upon how consistently you are doing good things. Okay, so yes, but आजकल बहुत मतलब liberal society है. I don't want a certification of society. Okay, let me be a Lady Gaga. Okay, I don't need anyone. Okay, I have this my moral authority and my moral conscience which will dictates me. My body, my this, my this. Deepika Padukone का देखा है क्या वो? That's also important. Okay, my choice करके एक है देखो. Okay, so we will see that debate also in feminism and feminine ethics. These debates are also important. Okay, I have not been a critical, just I have said as a part of humor, but otherwise that's again a different altogether ethics. Okay, that is where we'll discuss about the patriarchy, gender equality, women empowerment. Okay, that's a part of feminine ethics and sorry, feminism. Okay, right. Next, is there any issue with respect to understanding this honesty and integrity, or otherwise we can move forward? Yes, have you understood? Yes. So right, let's go to the next, that is about objectivity, impartiality, and non-partisanship. Now, this is something that we have seen that when the objectivity is being maintained, just now we have said that it is an advantage of something. What should we do that we will remain impartial and objective? We should follow the rules and regulations. We should follow the merit. We should take a decision not based upon the subjectivity, but on the basis of fixed rules and regulations. So, right, objectivity, impartiality, non-partisanship. Civil servant, while advising the government, and discharging other public duties, while advising the government and while discharging other public duties, must make the decision based on the merit, based on the merit. Merit. Okay, here merit is not about this intellectual merit we are talking about, that whether somebody is eligible for something or not. Okay, that is about merit, and he must not, right, in continuation, and he must not do so, and he must not do so based on narrow criterias, such as religion, race, political ideology, or any other personal bias, or any other personal biasness, bias. Any other personal bias or parochial criteria. So parochial criteria should not be followed. Like somebody is coming to your office, okay, his caste is similar to me, let me give him an advantage, okay, or religion or race or any other criteria. Any other criteria can be nepotism, favoritism, okay. So any kind of affiliation should not be there. He should be based upon merit. And the merit is obviously articulated on the basis of जैसे एक eligibility criteria रखा होगा. You need to follow that eligibility criteria. You should not favor or disfavor based upon narrow criteria. This will ensure the objectivity in decision making. So you are keeping aside your subjective bias. Subjective bias are kept out. You are following the merit, and that will ensure in bringing objectivity, impartiality, and non-partisanship. In fact, this is very important because the whole corruption start with this. What is not about following the impartiality? When see the thing is when you are following the merit and rules and regulation. Okay, just write merit and rules and regulation. This is impartiality or objectivity. Now, the second is when you being a partial or bias. Okay, so what are all types of bias beyond caste and this preferences? It can be like this is called favoritism. Favoritism. Okay, so impartiality versus or objectivity versus favoritism. So favoritism is something that when you are biased, you are favoring some person or the other. Now favoritism में काफी सारा है. अगर आप family को favor कर रहे हो any member, then it is called as nepotism. Okay, so if you are favoring some business class or there is a nexus with respect to this, it is called crony capitalism. Okay, or any other favoritism. So favoritism, nepotism, crony capitalism. Here you are favoring one who is not meritorious, but maybe he is giving you a bribe and etc. So there are various ways. So these are all act of corruption, and this should not be there, because then you are bringing the biasness. Also, you are any kind of negative discrimination is also this thing, negative discrimination. That is, you are favoring and disfavoring based upon the caste, religion. Okay, you deliberately put someone to the disadvantage. In India, we have this habit of asking, what is your surname? Okay, now it's not to know the surname. It's to see that whether हमारे बिरादरी का है या हमारे बिरादरी का है नहीं है. Okay, should we put him to the disadvantage or should we put to the advantage, etc. etc. कौन से region से belong करता है ये भी पता चल जाएगा. A lot many things. So caste, religion, region, race, gender also, okay, at times, because there is a favor disfavor. So any kind of irrational criteria which is not meritorious is a part of this. I'm writing this because you should not just repeat always it's a corruption. Okay, you should have a good words with you. Okay, favoritism, nepotism, crony capitalism, okay, caste bias, religious bias, negative discriminations, is this all. So we have to stop this. All are this corrupt act. These are all misconduct, and therefore we should stop this, and we should follow the objectivity. objectivity in our decision making. Have you understood, all of you? Okay. So that's about objectivity, impartiality, non-partisanship. Now, right, political neutrality, it is one subset of it. Political neutrality. Now, political neutrality, when we say about impartiality, political neutrality is actually understood that it's also about political neutrality, because in impartiality we have also said that one should not make a discrimination on the basis of political ideology also. So that's also become impartiality, but we need to re-emphasize this point, because bureaucracy and political class, okay, there is a lot of association, and therefore there is a chance of nexus between the two. Obviously this is unholy nexus, okay, nexus can be also for good reason, but this is something that unholy nexus. And rather than being politically neutral, okay, there is a tendency towards favor and disfavor political parties and political ideologies. Bureaucrats is expected to remain politically neutral. Okay, so right, political neutrality. The civil servant is expected to remain. Civil servant is expected to remain politically neutral. Civil servant is expected to remain politically neutral throughout his career. Civil servant is expected to remain politically neutral throughout his career. He should not favor or disfavor. He should not favor or disfavor anyone based on political ideology. He should not favor or disfavor any political ideology. क्या लिखा है? Based on political ideology or political affiliation of anyone towards any political party. The important word, this is just a more extensive way I'm giving you, simply that you should not favor and disfavor anyone, okay, based upon this criteria. So the thing is, why political neutrality is essential? What is the rationale behind the political neutrality? Should we have a political neutrality? And what is the rationale? Yes, please. What is the rationale behind political neutrality? Yes, please. Do not collide. Yes. Collide और थोड़ा सा better बताया जा सकता है. Okay. हाँ. हाँ. Okay. Fine. That is something value conflict. Okay. ठीक है. You are also right. और थोड़ा सा better बताया जा सकते हैं. Yes, tell me. What do you think, rest of the people? Why you are so silent? What is the implication? What is the rationale? Should we have? Should we not have? Hmm. 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 It must be impartial. Good. Hmm. Yes, see, the thing is, although it is being said that political neutrality is important, first we will explain what is the rationale behind it. See, the rationale are many, okay. Rationale are many in a sense that first of all, any political party will come and go after every 5 years. Okay, so think of if a bureaucrat is affiliated to one particular political party. Now that government is gone, new government has came. There will be two problems. First of all, it will be very difficult for government to deal with it because you already know that this is a anti this party and pro this party. So this person, there will be a very problems. There will not be hassle-free governance and communication, and lot many problems will arise for the democratic leader to deal with the bureaucratic class. That is one. Second is public will lose the trust. Public already know that this bureaucrat is pro this or anti this. Okay, so obviously the public will lose the credibility into the, or the governance will lose the credibility in the eyes of public. So again, there will be an issue. And for this reason, we have said that because bureaucracy is so-called permanent executive and political class, which is a temporary executive, so that after every change in the government, okay, the bureaucracy should be suggesting them in a more merit lines rather than on the basis of favor and disfavor for political parties. So their concern is not who is in the government, their concern is what is right from the public point of view. Okay, and that what is right from the public point of view is actually based upon the merit criteria. Now, this is a political neutrality. Now, sounds very nice when we speak about the this theoretical construct. Okay, but in practice, if you see that every day, so in case of practicality, there is always a every single day that bureaucrat has to sit with the political class. Okay, now you think that political class come up with certain common minimum agenda. Okay, the public have given them the mandate that this common minimum agenda has to be followed. Now, what is happening? This political neutrality has become that lack of spirit on the part of the bureaucracy in order to follow this common minimum agenda and something which the political class has promised with respect to the public at large. So now this is not we are saying that this is only the truth. There are various analysis. Okay, one analysis says that we need committed bureaucracy. Okay, committed with respect to the goals. Okay, and the political class should have the more power. Okay, in order to involve the bureaucrats with respect to implementation of the agenda. That is one side. The another side says that this will create a more and more problem because in India the system has not so matured, and which is rightly so. If you see that political neutrality across the world, it's not a constant and in a same degree it is applied everywhere. Okay, in some countries it is absolutely disconnect. In some countries there is a complete connect. Like say in case of America, you see that presidential government, when the president will get removed, he will remove the maximum bureaucracy there so that he wants his people to be there so that they can implement the task. Now, in this regard, there has been a lot of debate. The third thing is, one is these two extremes. One is about disconnect and one is about having. The third thing is, even when you are having the political neutrality, but every day, particularly in third world countries, you requires this bureaucracy to have connection with the people, directly with the people, understand the problems. Now, when you are understanding the problem of people, it becomes a political, okay, when you are understanding. So, by and large, in real practice, this has not been observed. If you see, the political neutrality is absolutely not observed. And it has again not observed means it has two implications again here. One is about we see the unholy nexus between the bureaucracy and the political class, and they both are involved in the corruption. Okay, because if the bureaucracy at higher level is involved, it means that there is a political hand, and if the political hand is there, nothing can happen without the help of bureaucracy. Second thing, they are saying that if the democracy is more matured, they can join hand together with respect to implementation, understanding the spirit of the people, and with the spirit of people, there is a synergy between the political class and the bureaucrat class. Many times it happens that with political class, let's assume that the very genuine political class, very honest political class, they are also lot many times complaining because of bureaucracy we are not able to implement our agenda. Okay, Let's assume that there is a merit to it and they want to do genuinely some good work. But because of this political neutrality, there has not been a very synergy between the two. Okay, so the point is there is a lot of debate with respect to this political neutrality in India, and even when it is written, it is being said by the bureaucrats and rest of the people that political neutrality is next to impossible thing that is to be practiced in India, because every single day, at least 5 times, 6 times in a day, you have to do the political activities. Like after the introduction of this Panchayati Raj, like if you are an IS officer, you have 3-4 meetings with Jilla Parishad members. Okay, you have lot many activities with the political class, etc., etc. And then the moment you little bit trespass from your, immediately there is a violation of code of conduct, and you have gone political on this, political on that, and he is being criticized. Now, since he has been criticized for this a lot, then he take that, okay, let me not take any decision. I will be more politically correct. Politically correct, matlab, by not being involved in anything, okay, I will just shrunk my responsibility, because then there is nothing to be questioned. समझ में आ रहा है? So the sense is coming here that he is always fearful of this code of conduct, because there are certain code of conduct will say that you should not do this and that, this and that. So actually it is binding the person in unleashing his good potential for the sake of larger society. So the debate is large, but that is not that easy debate. So this is there are different perspectives. If at all question comes, it should reflect in your answer. But theoretically speaking, this is, in fact, one of the committee report has very beautifully mentioned the political party. Practicing the political party and understanding the political party is like a marriage. Okay, it is very easy to understand, but very difficult to practice. Okay, that is what he has said. Maybe he has certain issues with his yes, but he has said this. It is like a marriage because it's very easy to understand what is it, but very difficult to practice in reality. Okay, so that's a debate about political party. I will give you one question as an assignment later on. अभी नहीं, इसी के ऊपर देता हूँ. You just remind me after the class. Okay, now write the next, that is transparency. Transparency. Yes, what is literal, right? Literal meaning of transparency is, literal meaning of transparency is openness. Literal meaning of transparency is openness. Openness. Now here we are trying to see transparency from point of view of civil servant. So, right, civil servant while making the decisions, civil servant while taking the decisions, while taking the decisions, while taking the decisions, should remain open, should remain open, should remain open. That is, he should make note of, he should make note of the manner in which, he reached to the decision, the manner in which he has taken the decision or he has reached to the decision. He should not withhold, he should not withhold any public information, he should not withhold any public information unless required. He should not withhold any public information unless required. Okay, unless required. So there are two things here. One is like putting all the information into the public domain, and second is while making the decisions, he should remain transparent. So in fact, the transparency in general is not defined this way. In general, I'm saying, in general, it is defined from the public point of view. Okay, and what is the definition of transparency? Transparency is accessibility to the information in a timely and reliable manner. So when we say that government is transparent, it is in the eyes of public it is transparent. And when it will be transparent in the eyes of public, when the public will have access to information in a timely and reliable manner within some stipulated time, and there is a reliability of the information that is coming. But since this chapter we are talking about transparency as a value for civil servants, so we are defining this way that it is about being transparent while taking the decision. And what is about while taking the decision? He should make an objective noting of the manner in which he has reached to the decision, and he should put the information to the public domain. Okay, so that's about the transparency as a value. We will see there are rest of the things of transparency in governance. Okay, what is RTI, and what are the issues with respect to transparency. But here it is about the value from bureaucrat. Okay, in fact, when we say about right to information, it is a right of public to have the information. Somebody's right is others' duty. Okay, it is a right of public to have information. It is a duty of public servant to give the information. So it's a obligation on in that regard. Okay, right. The next, that is accountability. Accountability. Now, accountability, like literal meaning of accountability is answerability, right? Literal meaning of accountability is answerability. Answerability. Now, from civil servant's point of view, how to define this accountability? That civil servant is accountable for his act of omission and commission. So, right, civil servant, civil servant, civil servant is answerable, is answerable. Civil servant is answerable for his act of omission and commission. For his act of omission and commission. For his act of omission and commission. Omission and commission समझ में आ रहा है? Even when omission is, if he is not doing something, he is responsible for it. That why there are lapses, why you haven't acted. When you have acted and you have trespassed your jurisdiction, okay, then also you will be held responsible. Or for that matter, even when you are doing all good things, that also will be a questioning. You have to be answerable to them. So for every act that you are doing, you are answerable. Okay. Now, answerable helps in again being remain transparent and uncorrupt, because the point is, if there is a, now here the answerability is not just about I will ask the question to the bureaucracy and he is just answerable. It means that answerability will be complemented by the enforcement. So if the answers are not satisfactory, there will be a punishment also. Okay, there are different tools of accountability. Again, as I have said, that transparency, we will see RTA and rest of the things later. Here the accountability, we will see what are the different tools of accountability, such as the Lokpal and CVC and etc., how he will be held accountable to the public. But here, from point of view of public servant, he should make himself available for any scrutiny possible. He is answerable for all his act of omission and commission. Okay. Right, that is क्या लिखा है? Answerability. Okay, this will ensure the more this will ensure the rule of law, just right. This will ensure the rule of law and the governance as per the merit oblique rules and regulation. This will ensure the governance as per the merit and as per the rules and regulation. Okay, answerability will be complemented by, or accountability will be complemented by enforcement mechanism. Will be complemented by enforcement, just right, enforcement. In fact, not only complemented, some people will see it as a different part, but enforcement is actually the integral part of the larger account. When we say about accountability, the literal meaning is answerability. But it does not mean that you just have to answer. The when we like for example, we see that there are problems in the bureaucracy. We see that there is a lack of transparency and there is a weak accountability. Weak accountability means even when the lapses are happening, they are left unpunished. Okay, some people are left unpunished. So since there is no punishment, there is no deterrence, and therefore there is a weak accountability. In fact, accountability has no significance when there is no enforcement mechanism. It's the enforcement which makes the accountability stronger or weaker. Are you understanding? So that enforcement component has to be kept in mind. Next is dedication to public service. Next is dedication to public service. Next is dedication to public service. Okay. Dedication to public service. Now see here, there are two words. One is the word public service as a value, and the word is dedication. Okay. So first write public service as a value. Public service as a value. Public service as a value. Now here, if you see the public service, this is the single most value which differentiated from the private sector. Okay. In case of private organization and in case of public organization, private organization, the value which is more important, or the thing is profit, okay, or revenue generation. Here it is a welfare, or what we call a public service. Now this value is a primary. Relatively, these are the two things which differentiated. So public service as a value. Now what happens, because this organization stand for welfare and the service, and this organization stand for profit, the kind of the people while you will take, you will ensure that how a person can ensure the maximum revenue for an organization here. But here, while you are taking, you will try and ensure that how a person has the inclination or service orientation or not. Now, you may think that all the services, okay, 100% of the services in public service are of nature of public orientation. So even whether you like it or not like it, no matter however self-centric you are, once you become an IS officer, what you are doing is nothing but public service, because that's a mandate. Okay, जो भी आपका task है, function है organization की, that is public service oriented. Okay, all the mandate, that is public service oriented. But when we see about the dedication to public service, it means that just because the job is saying you should not be having just a public service orientation, you should have the inner motivation for it. Okay, dedication means inner passion, motivation for it, because maybe if you have done taken a job not from point of view of a public service but as a lucrative career, okay, now you may be placed in Chhattisgarh, you may be placed in Northeast, in case of maybe Kashmir and etc., some difficult areas. Now in such cases, if pay and perk would have been your thing, okay, a standard good living would have been your thing. Now think of if you are posted in this Naxal affected areas. Now there you may not get all those things which are required, okay, and in such situation what will happen? Okay, in such situation what will happen, that you may feel demotivated because you are not public service oriented. In fact, forget about this, the kind of the lifestyle which will you have in a Naxal effect, no matter even if you are an officer, okay, you never know. जैसे हमें लगता है कि रेड बेकन कार जो बोलते हैं ना कि उसके लिए हमें जो है सर्विस बचपन से मुझे लगता था कि वो रेड बेकन कार attracts me a lot, so I want to become an IS officer, IPS officer, etc. छत्तीसगढ़ वहाँ पे पता चलता है कि रेड बेकन कार छोड़ के दूसरे गाड़ी में बैठने का मन करता है, क्योंकि you never know, because the first thing that will be targeted is a red bacon car. Even civil servants prefer not to go in a red bacon car. Red bacon car खुली जा रही है और ये आराम से दूसरे गाड़ी में बैठ रहे हैं, because that's the first one to be targeted. The point, आप देख रहे हो कि चलो वहाँ पे बहुत बड़ा ये होगा, वो होगा, बंगला होगा, बंगला है, बंगले में लाइट नहीं है, सड़क नहीं है, आपका व्हाट्सएप काम नहीं करना है, इंटरनेट नहीं है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी फैसिलिटी नहीं है, Okay, this messenger की services pop up नहीं हो रही है. Okay, so everything is there, but nothing is there. Okay, you are thinking that okay, my this MNC job was good. At least I was thank God it's Friday. Friday and Saturday I was enjoying. Okay, rest of the 5 days I was working. So you feel demotivated because there is a resource crunch, there is a in hostile environment, and there are lot many other adversities. There is a political pressure, there is a pressure of local goods, there is a pressure by different elements. So in such situation, you may feel demotivated if you don't have the public service orientation. Okay, if the other things would have been your consideration like power and this money and etc., so you may feel this. And organization wants that it's not only the external pay and perk is important consideration, but there has to be an inclination. So somebody who wants to do a service will say that no matter whatever the thing is, because I have this inclination only for this job, he will sustain, he will still find reasons to work in the larger public interest. So that's why it is written dedication to public service. That is, first of all, public service should be your orientation and self-interest should not be your orientation. And second is that public service orientation should come from within. Okay, there has to be certain inner motivation that is about dedication. So right, public service has a value. Civil servant is expected Civil servant is expected to have public service orientation. Civil service is expected to have public service orientation. Expected to have public service orientation. Public service orientation. Um, he should he should keep aside. He should keep aside. He should keep aside his self-interest. He should keep aside his self-interest while discharging public duties. He should keep aside self-interest while discharging public duties. Public duties. Dedication to public service. Dedication to public service. Public service means there should be inner motivation. There should be inner motivation or passion. Okay, but write inner motivation in bracket passion. There should be inner motivation. Motivation to work in a larger public interest. There should be inner motivation to work in a larger public interest. In a larger public interest. This will help civil servant. This will help civil servant to work in the larger public interest. This will help civil servant to work in the larger public interest. Larger public interest, especially during the time of adversities. Especially during the time of adversities or during adverse situation. ये हम dedication के लिए लिख रहे हैं. Are you understanding? Dedication is something which is coming from internal also. You have the external, all the things. Okay, you will have bungalow, you will have servants, you will have all this red wagon car, you will have lot many money there, pay and park. Okay, that's what we call. But apart from that, there has to be an service motivation. So that's a dedication to public service. That's why the question when it was asked, that is, what do you understand by happiness? They were actually asking, seeing that whether you have the happiness which you draw out of doing the public service or not. Because if you are writing something on your personal part, it means that self-interest become a more important thing. Okay, here the emphasis first is on the public service. So self-interest should not be consideration as long as you are a part of administration, and the public power or the power that is given to you, authority that is given to you, the public purse, anything should not be used for your personal advantage. Right, the next, that is empathy and compassion. Okay, write this way. Write this. Discuss this way. Okay, we have to see these four terms. Okay, something what we have been doing, like this apathy, apathy, sympathy, empathy, and compassion. What is apathy? Apathy is indifference or insensitivity. Okay, attitude of indifference or insensitivity. Indifference or insensitivity towards others, particularly towards the weaker section here, towards others' problems or towards others, particularly the problems of weaker section, because here we are talking about bureaucratic apathy. Now we have to change and we have to bring this. Okay, that is a sympathy, empathy, and compassion. Yes, what's a similarity or what is the difference when we see about three words? Degree, one is degree, obviously. One thread which is common to all is being sensitive now. You are being more sensitive. Sensitivity is there, being sensitive with respect to others' problem. You are quite considerate about others. That is thread which is common to all. You are not ignorant, you are not rigid, you are not status quoist, etc. Yes. What else? That is a common thing. And degree obviously is more as we go from left to right. What changes? What happens when you say empathy and what happens when you say compassion? Yes, anyone? Sympathy or empathy make a difference? Yeah? Okay, good. Action in where? Empathy and compassion. Okay, yes. Okay, let's see this. This is where we see that from a distance, when we feel bad for someone, but there is a sense of pityness. हाँ pity for someone. Okay, जिसके ऊपर है कि mercy, हाँ दयाल. Okay, mercy, pity. Now, sense of pityness, when we say it's about the sympathy, but in case of empathy, so from a distance, I'm feeling bad for someone. That is about the sympathy. There is a sense of pityness in it. In case of empathy, I put myself into the shoes of others and try and see what the other person is exactly going through. Okay, rather than from a distance, I feel mercy and pity for someone. I put myself into the shoes of others and try and see what the other person is exactly going through. That is empathy. In case of compassion, empathy is there. Now, what is empathy? You put yourself into the shoes of others and see what the other person is going through. After having realized what other person is going through, I am making a concerted efforts. There is an action component in order to remove the person out of that particular situation. So that is about compassion. So compassion is empathy plus action. Okay. So, in fact, we do not use the word sympathy for the bureaucratic point of view. Bureaucratic, because there is an inherent sense of strongness. Sympathy. In fact, the saying goes that don't sympathize, empathize. Okay, don't sympathize. ये होता है जो बोलते हैं ना तरस खाना किसी के ऊपर. So this is about तरस खाना. Okay, so bureaucracy आपको तरस नहीं खाना. It's an obligation that you have to empathize with them and be compassionate with them. So sympathy, sense of pityness for the others, feeling sense of pityness for the other situation. We should not use the word sympathy, okay? Sense of pityness. Empathy, this is understanding the other's problems by putting oneself into the other's situation. Understanding the situation of other by putting oneself into the other's position. By putting oneself into other shoes, sandal मत लिखिए, थोड़ा सा अर्बन हो जाता है वो. Yeah, okay. So put yourself into the situation of others and try and understand what the other person is going through. That's empathy. In compassion, okay, being compassionate is that this is, you can simply write empathy plus action. First of all, you can write this empathy plus action. Empathy plus action. So you make an effort in order to, okay, remove the person out of that situation, in order to change the situation. Obviously, first you need to put yourself into that shoes and understand, and then take certain action in order to remove the person out of the situation. Okay, being compassionate. Again, these are very, because subtle differences. Otherwise, if only one is asked, you can write whatever, all the three. Okay, that's not an issue. But if at all they ask you, what do you understand by empathy and compassion, and what are the differences, if at all, between the two? You can use empathy and compassion interchangeably. That's not a big issue. Okay, being compassionate is about being kind to others. You are not wrong. Okay, being kind means being kind. In fact, it also involves the highest form of compassion is endurance of pain for yourself in order to help the others. Okay, the kindness to an extent that enduring pain for oneself in order to help the others. It also involves the sacrifices. Okay, it also involves coming out of from comfort zone. Okay, in order to help the other person out. So it has a sacrifice component. It has a pain, because we have to make an efforts in order to ameliorate the situation of others. समझ में आ गया? When we say that Mother Teresa is a compassionate person, okay, it means that she's coming out of his comfort zone and she is helping out. She's going into the public and helping the people out. Like there was we have celebrated 3-4 days back this Savitribai Phule's anniversary, birthday anniversary. She was the one who was also a compassionate. There was a deadly plague in Pune. Okay, so during the time of plague, okay, this couple have gone into the public, helped them out, sometimes even at the cost of putting oneself to the disadvantage. So compassion involves a lot of things. It's about like this public service component that has to be brought in. समझ में आ रहा है? So empathy and compassion. Okay, so therefore we see that bureaucratic apathy should be replaced by empathy and compassion. The civil servant should be empathetic towards others. That is, considerate about the situation of other, and he should have a feeling of compassion. In fact, that is what we are seeing. When it is an apathetic system, it will make you more sound like a more rigid, जो अभी लिखा था, status quoist. It is elitist orientation because we are not looking after them. So this is elitist, status quoist. This point you should remember. This is elitist. और क्या लिखा था? This is will make you rigid and apathy. Okay, so that's the 4 words. Okay, apathy, elitism. और ये आप लाओगे तो rigid से more responsive sound करोगे. You will be more flexible. You will be more change oriented. You will be more public service oriented. You will have a empathy and compassion. So we want to change this phase. Ethics is introduced. Democratic attitude, bureaucratic attitude, aptitude, attitude. There's rules and regulations versus empathy and compassion. So all this paper is about value system. You will see that one common thread, that is changing the hearts and changing the value system of the bureaucracy in order to more public service oriented or public oriented. Okay, so apathy, sympathy, empathy, compassion. Okay, like to give an examples, like if there is a slum area, or for that matter this winter shelters, and people are like, there is people are sleeping on the pavements and etc. So apathy is completely indifferent. Okay, as long as it is not bothering you, so you'll not bother about others. So you are absolutely insensitive about them. Sometimes, in fact, see what is the bureaucratic attitude and democratic attitude. Better example is like rules say that all these people who are sleeping on the pavements or who are constructing the temporary shelters, they're all illegal because you are not supposed to form the shelters on the roads, and sleeping on the pavements is wrong. So it is illegal. Or maybe there are certain slums which are there. So these are all unauthorized construction. So law says, and you are right if you go for the overnight demolition drive. Okay, certainly the law, legality says you are correct, absolutely correct. This is absolutely bureaucratic attitude for which it has been criticized as bureaucratic apathy. Okay, you are following the rules and regulations and saying that this is unauthorized construction, so let me demolish overnight, where you are not sensitive about the others' problem. It does not mean that we are justifying their unauthorized construction. It simply means that are you making an efforts in order to rehabilitate them and provide some safe shelter for them so that they will not come to this unauthorized construction at the first place? Or when you are going for the demolition drive, you are right in one sense, but you are wrong in the rest of the sense. It's about threat to their life, and you are not making an efforts in order to, because ultimately public service is your goal. So in that case, you need to show an empathy and compassion. Sympathy is about simply saying that I feel bad for them. Okay, God bless them. It's a very difficult situation. Facebook पे थोड़ा status update कर दो. Okay, and then feel bad. God bless them. This winter should pass as early as possible. I pray to this God. That's a sense of sympathy. Empathy is going there and seeing, okay, how these people are living, putting oneself into the shoes of others, thinking that what is actual, what do you mean by cold when you don't carry the sweaters and these blankets, what does it feel like? That is about empathy. Compassion is then taking some efforts, writing later to MCD, or if something is possible at individual level, taking some action, helping an NGO, etc., etc. So that's about the compassion. But again, as I have said, empathy and compassion you can interchangeably used. Sympathy is something that is, sympathy is also not bad. Okay, at least you are not this. Okay, some other way you will slowly enter. That's the first stage of being empathetic and compassionate. Just because relatively we have to explain, so we are explaining this. It is something like what we have did in case of honesty and integrity, so something like that. Okay, so that is about it. Today we will discuss this about tolerance, courage, leadership. Also we will continue with the Nolan committee's definitions also. Okay, Nolan's committee's definition we have to discuss. Okay, just take one question on political neutrality. Okay, this is an assignment for you. Little difficult question, but if you can try. In today's time, in today's time, it has become clear, in today's time, it has become clear that attempting to define administrative role, attempting to define administrative role as separated from politics, as separated from politics, simply simply isolate administrator from highly differentiated populace, POPULAC, highly differentiated populace in a country like India, highly differentiated or heterogeneous population in a country like India, and discourage them from facing the and discourage them from facing the implied substantive political role, and discourage them from the facing the implied substantive political role they play. Okay, discourage them from facing implied substantive political role they play. Critically evaluate the statement. Critically evaluate the statement. Question समझ में आ गया आपको? All of you have understood the question. Please read the question once again. क्या समझ में आया? इफ एनीबडी हैज अंडरस्टूड, मैंने तो पूरा बता ही दिया है, हिंट भी दे दिए हैं, डिस्कशन भी लिया है. क्या है ये क्वेश्चन? Yes, in today's context, political neutrality has become absolute. You are seeing that everything, like you are removing yourself from all political, so-called political thing, quote unquote political thing. Now, when we say about development of heterogeneous society and third world country like India, unless and until you understand their problem, how will you going to resolve the problem? So, in this context, पॉलिटिकल न्यूट्रलिटी की यूटिलिटी क्या है और उसका डायनामिक्स क्या है वो डिस्कस करना है. हैव यू अंडरस्टूड ऑल ऑफ यू? पॉलिटिकल न्यूट्रलिटी हमने बोला था कि ही शुड नॉट इन्वॉल्व इनटू द पॉलिटिक्स, ही शुड बी पॉलिटिकली न्यूट्रल. But there is an implicit disadvantage also, because then he is keeping himself away from all the political activities which are essentially required in Indian context in order to resolve the problem, in order to understand, in order to make the policies. So उस context में आपको deliberate करना है. Okay, there is one more question online. हाँ, yes please. Substantive political role. Okay, what role they have to play as a bureaucracy, and in this context what is required to be done. Okay. Sir, there is a debate that accountability has made the civil servant more status quoist. How to make them change oriented yet ensuring the accountability? Yes, accountability has become means in order to ensure the corruption-free governance. Okay, this is the idea of accountability. Although this question is about, as I have said, that this transparency and accountability we have to see in length in governance also. Okay, here just we wanted to say that bureaucracy की क्या responsibility है कि they should be accountable. But let me see this question. इसमें क्या है कि आपने accountability क्यों लाई है? Why you are making the people answerable? You are making the people answerable because they should not misuse the power, they should not misuse the public finance, they should not involved in the corruption. Therefore, you are making them accountable. Now, since you are making them accountable, there is also a fear. This becomes in fact, this means becomes the end in itself. You are making too much of accountability, and the goal of public service is forgotten. Now, what is happening? Even the civil servants is thinking that if I will do this and that, I will be always held accountable. Okay, he is more fearful of procedures, following the procedures and accountability. So he is not doing beyond what is written in the rule book. Okay, he simply जो बोलते हैं ना politically correctness. Okay, I will only follow the political correctness. I will not go an extra mile, because if I go and start using a discretion, my own wisdom, then people will question why you have done this and that. So let me be just an follow what is not written is not written. I'll simply say that okay, this is not in rule, you do whatever you want. I am supposed to only follow rules. So accountability has become a tool which is binding the people in order to like not go beyond. It is making them more status quoist. They are not using their wisdom, they are not using their discretion, they are not going beyond their mandate in the larger public interest, because then they fear that there will be a accountability means again you will say that why the honest people then should have a fear of accountability. But then it happens whenever there is a use of discretionary power. So use of discretionary power, there can be different perspective. Even you are sending the notice, that is like an harassment of public officers. So these tools of accountability we have to create, that they should not become a hurdle, particularly for the honest officer, in order to discharge the things in the larger public interest. Okay, so it is not about not having accountability should be the solution. It is about having the accountability and objectivity to it. Okay, the use of accountability should not be to harass the honest public servant. In fact, is the other way around. Tools of accountability, like let me say one tool of accountability, you will surprise and you will have all the answers. CBI is a tool of accountability. Now you can imagine that CBI किसके पीछे जाती है? CBI उसी के पीछे जाएगी जो brutally honest officers रहेंगे, because most of the times the political dispensation across, like whether it is NDA government, UPA government, or for that matter any government, they uses the CBI in order to harass those people who are questioning the government in a sense that when you are being too honest and not falling in the lines of political class of the day. So obviously these tools of accountability, whether it is a lokpal, whether it is a lokpal to abhi constituted ही नहीं है, but जैसे income tax department is another thing. Okay, so these are the things which are being misused. So the solution does not like in going back the days where the accountability is not there. Solution lies in having a foolproof accountability, and there has to be an objectivity with respect to use of accountability. Have you understood this point? How the accountability can make people more status quo, because they are only worried about following the politically correct decisions and taking the politically correct laws. Okay, he will say that I will not judge on what good I do. I will judge on the basis of whether I have followed the strict rules and regulations. So let me follow more strict rules and regulation, and therefore he becomes a more and more status quoist again. Again, rule become more important rather than we are thinking about he should be democratic, he should be empathetic. Because he will be judged on the basis of whether he follows rules and regulation, he will be more and more rigid with the rules, and this is making him more status quoist. Have you understood? So the answer lies in the thing that is objective implementation of accountability, and somewhere there has to be a flexibility and there should be a right approach in order to judge the performance of the bureaucrat. Yes, please. Yes, certainly. It's not just the tool of transparency. Okay, you may feel just about the transparency. No, it is a tool of accountability, because once it has brought the transparency, people can go, first of all, you go and take the information. जो आपको information मिलती है, तो वो information आप आगे process करते हो कि look, now I got the information and there is a discrepancy with respect to fund allocation and actual fund utilization. So that information has become a tool of your accountability, because you are going to ask the question and raise the doubt on the government. So ये ऐसे watertight compartment नहीं कि RTI is equal to only transparency. Okay, it is also our accountability. We'll see this all facets we will see in governance.